The Bamsters Rated our show, where console peasants and PC master racers unite in glorious bacon.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Bamsters podcast. This week, episode 142, and unfortunately due to scheduling conflicts, have had to cancel our regularly scheduled comic shop talk segment. So you're just going to hear G and I babble on about some stuff here. Speaking of, G, why don't you say hi?
Okay, hi. No, it's not another podcast, it's another episode. Drag, we don't make new podcasts every week.
I think this is where I say potato, potato.
No, get it right, damn it, man. You've been doing this for 3 years almost.
That's part of my charm, is when I get things wrong like that.
Yeah, charm.
So, anyway, yeah, we're going to start this one off on a little bit of a downer and see if we can't maybe, well, I was going to say maybe take it up from there, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster ride. So, just within the last few days, we've seen DareDevil being canceled from the Netflix Marvel lineup. And after I saw Luke Cage, and as G likes to call it, Iron Fist, canceled, I was kind of afraid that it may be leading to further cancellations. Though I will be honest.
The insufferable Iron Fist.
Yeah, I will be honest. I thought that Jessica Jones probably would have gotten canceled before DareDevil. I've enjoyed each one of these shows on their own merits. Iron Fist was definitely the weakest of them. I was really shocked that Luke Cage got canceled when it did. And so I don't know.
Okay, let me take this one.
What do you think, G?
First off, they're all gonna get cancelled. Even the two, 3 remaining. There isn't really announced a follow-up to Defenders, so I guess there's only 2 remaining. But we know that Marvel got bought by Disney, and Disney is trying to make their own Disney Plus thing because they want all the money that Netflix is apparently making, or could be making. And I'll guarantee you there's pressure that to renew, they have to pay Marvel, i.e. Netflix has to pay Marvel, more money in the past. And subsequent seasons, to use the American phrase, don't make more money for Netflix. That's the weird thing. Big Bang Theory, even though the viewership has gone down year by year, every year they can charge more money for advertisement. That means the network makes the same or more money year on year. Every year there's more merchandise, there's more everything, there's more syndication, there's more distribution outside of US, there's more of everything. TV series in the classical model makes money every season. Netflix doesn't. So for Netflix, Marvel coming up and saying, we don't know this, but that's the theory, Marvel coming up and saying, we want more money, or we want to move things over to Disney Plus. Well, Netflix doesn't have a monetary incentive to keep them then, after the first 1 or 2 seasons. So this was fully expected, not just when Disney bought Marvel, but before that. There isn't a reason for Netflix to keep making season upon season of a show. And with Disney being greedy as they are, yeah, it's gonna happen to Jessica, it's gonna happen to, what's the last one? Punisher. Sorry, how could I forget Punisher? And the reasons we haven't heard it yet is because they each have a season that is recorded or being recorded. Actually, I think they both have been recorded and they're editing now and they're about to be released. Once they've been released, we're going to hear them being cancelled.
Yeah, Marvel released a somewhat, or some would say kind of cryptic statement where at the end of the statement, after thanking the cast and crew for, a wonderful show, that they say they look forward to telling stories with Daredevil and those characters. So I don't want to say that we should cross our fingers and hold our breath that maybe these shows and the cast and crews will move to the Disney streaming service, but who knows?
I just say when they do, if they do, I will look forward to the song and dance version of The Punisher.
You have a twisted sense of humor, my friend.
I want a full-on Anna Kendrick musical. Yeah, let's have, what's his face that does all the musicals on TV in the US? The guy from How I Met Your Mother. Let's have him do Punisher.
So you want to have Anna Kendrick show up as somebody like Domino or something and like get up in his face and like they have like a song off or something like that? Is that what they call it?
Go for it, yeah. Good old New York style dance off. Go for that.
Oh man.
Reference for people way older than most gamers, etc.
I've never understood why shows. I know that there's an audience for it, but I've never understood why shows like to do that musical episode. Like I know. Man, I can't remember when the first ones did it, but I do remember like Buffy. They had some kind of musical episode or something like that.
Yeah, the song and dance demon that they let go has turned out to be absolutely irrelevant and easy to defeat once they stopped singing all the time. That one was weird.
Yeah, I always find it strange when you have shows that are like so serious like that, and then they just throw in a musical number, which I get, it's a refresh of the palette or whatever, but I've never been big on musicals myself, so yeah, I kind of can just skip those episodes myself.
Well, if you don't want to skip it, you can head over to Facebook and watch Buffy sing, I guess, something.
Wait a minute. Facebook?
Yeah, the Faceache has gotten the rights to 20th Century Fox's Just Whedon back catalogue, so Buffy, Angel, Firefly will be on Facebook Watch, which is a platform nobody knew existed.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
And I love the idea. Just Whedon content on Facebook. They are made for each other.
Oh, that was kind of rough.
Well, let's just say I don't like Facebook. But then again, I also don't like people who cheat on their wives 15 years in a row and then act as if it was normal.
Damn, you just like throwing out the salt today.
Oh no, I have no issues with it. Just, keep those two away from me. Buffy, Angel, Firefly, they're good TV shows. Slightly dated, slightly awkward. In light of what we know now, they're also a little bit difficult to watch, but people who want to watch them for the first time or rewatch them can go over to Facebook, give their privacy away to Mark Zuckerberg, and I guess, watch the TV shows they could otherwise just, get cheap on a DVD somewhere.
Well, I suppose if you want to create like a generic fake ghost email address, one that you would use just for spam and Facebook, but doesn't actually have any of your actual information in it, you could probably do that and then still watch the shows. But other than Firefly, and of course, that not getting the life that we would have hoped it would have got, you said they're difficult to watch. Why is that?
If you go back and see Joss's statements, Mr. Whedon's statements about the reason why he had to cheat was because there were all these female actors and personnel around him who adored him, and therefore he had to. He was obligated to have sex with them. Come on. And then watch him literally having made TV shows, particularly Buffy, that are more or less all female-led, or with a strong focus on it. It kind of smells a little bit like, sure, it was all about his mother raising him to appreciate women, or because he saw a chance to just surround himself with women.
Wow. I didn't even know any of that stuff, but then I try not to follow too much on... It goes back to that whole thing, I don't know if you've ever... Well, I'm sure you probably heard the saying, you can't or you shouldn't meet your heroes. Not that Joss Whedon is necessarily someone I would consider as a hero, but he definitely... he's made entertainment that I enjoy watching, and things like Buffy and Angel, Firefly, and the Avengers stuff. And it's like too many of these folks, they're human, but they have lots of flaws, and some of them are not that great of people. It's like, man, I don't want to have things like this ruined for me because of people who are just friggin' idiots.
Yeah. No, it's also, if you watch Buffy and Angel, I think a little bit more Angel, remember these are, coming up on 20, Buffy's 20 years old now, Firefly's 15, Angel is also on that scale, 18, 19 years old, I guess. There are bits in it, there are references, etc. we wouldn't use today, there are language that we wouldn't use today. So, at least some of us wouldn't.
Well, I think that's probably true of any show you look at.
Keep that in mind when watching them again. Yeah, Friends is... If you watch Friends through today's eyes, it's difficult to watch, but as long as you remember that it isn't today, then it gets a little bit easier. It's one of those fun things. Don't watch the old Doctor Who's. There's some parts that'll probably cringe you like hell.
Man, I must have some kind of switch in my brain that flips when I watch older stuff like that, because I never catch things like that. I think I remember watching it when it was on, and if I do catch something like that and I watch it, or I should say, I guess probably rewatch it, I kind of sit from the perspective that I had when I watched it the first time. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's also unfair because, Doctor Who is 50-something years old by now, so that one is a bit excessive. One that I actually find stands up fairly well is MASH, because they actually address weird things that you wouldn't expect them to once you pay attention.
Well, it's funny that you're mentioning stuff, how things were and watching them through the old lens. Have you watched the new She-Ra on Netflix at all, or no?
I had an exchange with one of the community managers at Bethesda. Wow, he must have a fun job these days. And he said, yeah, go for it and watch it with your daughter and all that. I joked, yeah, I will, as long as it's not in French, because I live in Belgium. My daughter started watching it without me, in French. So it isn't that I don't want to watch She-Ra. Yeah, I just need to find another way of watching it.
I've started watching it. I think I'm about 6 or 8 episodes in. I've been watching it with my little one, and she definitely enjoys it. So I'm glad about that. I'm not a huge fan of the art style, but, it is what it is, and it's targeted towards the younger crowd, which I think probably responds to that art style better. I would say it's both strange and interesting the way that they've changed her backstory a little bit for this. They're kind of telling a little bit more from the perspective where they're actually giving a little bit more meat to the story of like while she was training at the Horde, which I think probably makes for a little more of an interesting backstory than how in the old cartoons where they kind of just glossed over it and she was almost like a standout character that didn't know anybody, didn't have any friends or anything like that. But the weirdest thing to me, the hardest thing for me to get past is this cartoon and the writers on it don't seem to have any idea of the concept of a secret identity. It's like everywhere they go, they're telling everybody that Adora is She-Ra. And it's like even the Horde knows that she's She-Ra, or at least one of the characters in the Horde for sure knows, and the others are probably soon to find out. So it's just kind of like, if everybody in the world knows that that's her and that the sword is how she becomes She-Ra, that seems like a really easy way to disable that character.
I think I saw some of that, particularly like second episode. I was watching it while my kid was watching it. What is it she shouts when she grabs the sword?
For the honor of Grayskull.
That was it, because I could not. Again, it was in French, and she basically says the same thing except in French, and it kind of wait, that sounds wrong. But I think in my mind I was expected He-Man's statement. So by the power of
his is by the power of Grayskull.
Yeah, my brain was just going, there's something wrong here. There's something way wrong. Besides, it's in French. But it was fun watching her tumble around trying to do that. Not succeeding. No, it was interesting that they do that full on. I liked that.
Yeah, it is interesting how she's channeling that power now, and initially, like you're talking about, where she's fumbling around and not really managing to make that transformation that sometimes when she was trying to. But I don't know, man, that whole thing with the secret identity still kind of bothers me. But it's just, I found it kind of funny because I was remembering, circling back around to Iron Fist, he would run around and tell everybody he was the immortal Iron Fist. And in this one, it's her friends running around telling everybody that she's She-Ra, so.
Yeah, in Iron Fist, you just kind of want to punch him every time he says it. Yes, you're insufferable, we know it. Apologies. Today's salt brought to you by G-Salt, the best salt there is.
Now we need to make you do an interstitial or breaker with like some kind of salty comments or something.
If you ever run out of G-Salt, just add more Facebook. No, but it looks like a really nice cartoon. I sort of agree with the style. Visually, it's not what I would expect, but it's nice and soft and easy to watch. It's not overly detailed. It's not overly rich on visual environment, in my opinion. At least, again, the parts that I did watch, I might just have missed out completely. It reminds me a lot of these younger cartoons, the ones that are targeting pre-tween age groups.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of like salt and fire on the internet about the art style, and I was doing my best to really try not to judge it solely based on a few images and kind of see how it played out once I got a chance to actually watch it. I would prefer to do that and try to judge the show based on the merits of the show versus just a couple of pictures. However, on the flip side of that, Thundercats Roar, get out of here with that shit. I can't stand it. I won't even watch it. So, no.
Well, now you know what's the issue for me. I can't stand watching Power Rangers or really Voltron because it just annoys me.
Voltron?
Power Rangers is also every kind of shit, but that's a different part. Visually, when we talk about that, they annoy me.
Really? Voltron? You're talking about the new Netflix one or the old school one?
I am assuming it's the old school because whatever it is my kid was watching half a year ago.
Well, that might be the new one that's on Netflix.
Well, it was annoying.
I've enjoyed the Voltron series, both the one back when I was a kid and the new one they're doing on Netflix, and the art style too.
Okay.
To each their own, right?
Yeah. So, but She-Ra, is it a thumbs up, thumbs down? Go watch, go wait?
I would say if you have kids, especially girls, I think they'll definitely enjoy watching this. If you're an old school, like a fan of the old school cartoons, if you can get past the visual, it's not a bad cartoon to sit and watch. So really, I think it depends on the perspective that you come from. If you really want something that's going to more mirror and be a little more serious like the old school cartoon, then you'll probably be disappointed by this. But, if you're just looking for something to kind of fill that void of the Masters of the Universe stuff, that doesn't take itself too seriously and is a little bit fun to sit down and just enjoy, especially with kids around. If you got your kiddos in the house, then yeah, I think you can probably have a good time watching it.
Well, when I figure out a place to watch it without it being in French, then I probably will.
But like I said, you just have to understand that they don't seem to understand the concept of a secret identity.
I watch Marvel content. I'm aware of this concept.
And more salt.
Oh no! Let's be honest. That was the shtick at the end of Iron Man 1, wasn't it? Where he goes, "Yeah, by the way, I'm Iron Man."
Yeah,
I liked that. Iron Fish, annoying. Iron Man, awesome. No, the whole just being honest about it, just not give a shit.
The chance that this brings quite a bit more salt to the show today. You said you wanted to talk a little bit about Project Nova.
Yeah, they're starting from Nova. See what I did there? Worst joke ever.
Yeah. But maybe still worthy of the drums. Boom. That way, if anybody didn't get it, at least they know it was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah, CCP Games, who made the game Dust 514, that's the very reason we're sitting here. They announced they were cancelling Dust 514 several years ago, then a sequel to it, and then another sequel when the first sequel didn't work, and apparently Project Nova has now been sort of restarted a few times internally. Now they were sure they had something nice. They went out to Vegas, and they got a bunch of feedback. I'm going to say most of what I saw feedback-wise was, this wasn't anything special. This is going to drown in the flood of all the other shooters. And even to the point that the PvE was terrible. So they said, we got feedback and we're taking it serious and we're going to go away and not do a closed alpha. Because the closed alpha was supposed to be announced, I think yesterday as we're recording here on the Saturday. Results, no closed alpha, and they'll come back at a later point with a new game again.
Well, I would say it's disappointing for certain to hear that the reaction to that was that it was just kind of bland. However, I guess on the flip side of that, if you want to try and put a positive spin on it, they're taking, the criticisms of that and seeing if they can, retune it into something better. That's kind of cool, because hopefully at the other end of the tunnel, it comes out with a better game that we can, better enjoy.
Yeah, I think, at least to some degree, they learned from the whole issue that Dust 514, people kept saying, oh, this will be good. It had a good base, it had a good foundation, the comm systems, everything, the way that it had voice integrated, back on the PS3 even. That was pretty great. It was good at being a game to have a community around. But it was still a lot of, we'll make this in the future, we'll make that in the future. A lot of, these are the things that will be awesome about this game in the future. Project Nova cannot rely on that because Dust couldn't rely on it. Dust could not survive having some of these things come later. And Nova cannot come out and say, we're here now with an excellent gun game, which again, what I was hearing wasn't really the case. And we'll have all these awesome features down the line. Well, that won't help. People, particularly critics, people who don't know EVE Online, people who don't know Dust 514, EVE Valkyrie, EVE, the VR mining game, they will look at it and say, generic, why bother with what's coming down later? If it's generic now, I'm just going to ignore it going forward. And that's the whole anchoring thing you might have heard us mention in the past. If people anchor an image of a game as it's generic now, no amount of promises for the future will change that anchoring. So I think they're doing the right thing. If what they hear, the feedback from critics, is not from the gamers, not from the fans, but from the critics, is this is going to look like a generic game, the absolutely correct process is to walk away and say, yeah, we're not taking this version to market. We need to make it stand out when we go to market.
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but I feel like I can't not say it now. You look at some of the things that have happened recently, and, even big powerhouse developers like Bethesda are not immune to the fan base turning on them, when they release something that really needed quite a bit more development time.
Oh yeah, there's been a game recently that has needed a lot more baking, right? I used to say we should take, there's something in the UK called GamerBake, where you make gaming-based cake. You bake a cake, it has to be gaming-themed, and then get just on it. And I keep saying we should show up with Dust 514 cake, something half-baked. And then the moment somebody tries to eat it, we splat it across the side of a PC.
The cake is a lie.
Yeah. So, but I don't think that's not a risk, the whole fan base turning on them. The fans that are still there from Dust, the ones that are really hanging on, they're quite rapid, but they're also all in. I don't think CCP could do anything wrong with them, honestly. They want it.
Oh.
They can taste it.
You talk about all in. It was just a week or two ago, we talked to Cujo Sound, who worked at CCP for a while, and he was talking about an event where people were getting tattoos for, I think it was Dust. So, wow.
Oh yeah, at least a couple of the EVE Fan Fests have had tattoo artists where you could get both temporary and permanent tattoos.
I mean, I definitely get being a fan, and I think that's really cool, but to get a tattoo of something that isn't out yet, wow, that's ooh.
So, but it's one of those games that's fun to follow. We follow it, we're interested in it, etc. When it comes out, we'll play it, we'll review it, etc. BAM does a little series with somebody else on the side. When the dust has settled, go look at those videos. And the EVE universe is awesome in how it has unfolded, but it's also over a decade old. So there's a lot of stories, and there's a lot of great stories in there. And one of my jokes regarding this whole delay is invariably one of the things they would have been told if they've listened is putting another not exceptional shooter on the PC gets it drowned. There's just too many of them. And I can verify the amount of games we get pitched, the amount of stuff we see. Yeah, it's a lot of very not interesting, both Unity and Unreal generic shooters. If they wanted to stand out a little bit, the consoles are arguably still less crowded for free-to-play shooters. So it's still a good idea to go over there, and it's Sumo Digital who's doing a lot of the actual shooter game development. They have a lot of experience on the consoles. I'd be surprised if they just haven't been told, make sure you include that platform, or those platforms. Because going Windows only at this point just looks unhealthy.
Yeah, I think if you want a shooter to be successful, I'd say in any of the markets, you really got to bring, a couple of different things that make it stand out. First and foremost, the first thing that people are going to see is what the game looks like. but it definitely needs to feel and move or feel like it moves and reacts pretty fluidly if you want a chance to stand in that market.
Yeah, like that, you were playing that was Lawbreakers. That they tried. They went for a gimmick. Less successful, but they tried, right?
They tried, and to be honest, I think it really was just a matter of timing. I think had they been able to release prior to Overwatch, they might have been able to gain more of a foothold. Because the game itself was fun to play, and I'm no good at PvP. Anybody who's ever seen any of the videos we put up that's been recorded from PC, and if it's PvP stuff, you'll see me get killed over and over and over again. And it wasn't that I was getting a ton of kills in that game, because it would go up and down. Sometimes I did better than others, sometimes I did really bad. But it was fast paced. It was fun to play. The mechanics for the different characters were pretty cool to use. Some of the stuff you could do where there was like an assassin character that would shoot out like a grapple, so you could actually jump off the map and like swing around. That was kind of cool. They had like this reverse gravity effect in parts of the game. So the game looked and it played a lot of fun, and it was disappointing that it didn't get more of a foothold. And I kind of really feel like a lot of it was, well, part of it was timing. I think some of it may have been the marketing as well. If you look at how they marketed that game, and it was, from the get-go out the door, they were like, this is for like hardcore badass, PC, like PvP shooters. Like, if you can't get good, then this ain't your game. So I think they may have alienated a bunch of the market on that. But it looked good. It was fun to play. It was fast and fluid. You get back in the matches quickly. I did enjoy playing that while I did.
It's actually quite a few games that died by releasing adjacent to Overwatch. Even some that came out like a month before just did not stand a chance because everybody was waiting for Overwatch. So, interesting effect.
Yeah, well, I mean that, and the game type was far too much like Overwatch. So, they might have had better luck if they had done more like the Fortnite thing, where instead of charging for the game, if they went free to play and then just had a bunch of microtransactions for cosmetic stuff, that might have given them quite a bit more longevity. But of course, it's all looking back in theories and who knows what. So I have not worked in the game industry other than what we do here on the show, so I can't really say for sure. Yeah, yeah, right.
Makes you an expert. To stay a little bit with the idea of a past game getting remade or getting updated, getting sequels, one that I didn't add to the notes, so it's a bit of a surprise on you, but I'm going to mention anyway. Paragon, which was a game, again, some of us played, really enjoyed, third-person shooter, brawler, MOBA. I know the time of MOBAs is moving away. Sure, the big ones are still surviving, but everybody's running off to the Battle Royale scenario. Well, there's a group that's taking all the visual art components they could for Paragon because they were open sourced and are making core Paragon Revisited. And they've been putting out videos. I think as this episode comes out, they should have put out all the videos that they were planning, just about at least. Go check them out. They tell a lot of what they're planning to do. But remember, things take a while, and it's not going to be at least, It's going to be at least a year, let's put it that way, until this game might come out and might be revived. And it won't be the same Paragon, but there is a Paragon coming out again. It's interesting, at least, because I quite enjoyed it. I enjoy the MOBA style, the mechanics, but I prefer to play it in a third-person setting. It's a lot more interesting. So I'm excited.
I remember when you guys first brought this one to my attention, and the word MOBA, and I was just kind of like, because I'd seen so many different MOBAs, and I just never could find an interest in them. And but I did actually sit down and play this some with Bam, and I had a pretty good time playing it. It was actually kind of a fun game to play. That's probably the only MOBA I think I've ever actually played. But no, I don't know. I wish them luck. I hope that they managed to do that. And what about the legal side of things, though?
Oh, I fully expect them to get beaten by Epic. Like, there's no way Epic is going to be okay with it. But they say they've gotten green light to go on PS4, which means some of the legal challenges must have been resolved. But still, I don't know. We've been chasing them. They say they're too busy to talk to anybody, which is an awesome marketing strategy. We can't talk to media because we're too busy. Good, but you should probably figure out finding time to talk to media. Just saying. If they get the time, we'll have them on.
Well, and it may be at a point in development where they're, heads are down, noses to the grindstone, and maybe at some point when they get a few things figured out and they get a little breather, they'll have some more time. At least that's how I hope it works out.
Yeah. That's sort of what we've agreed so far as well. We said, do you think you get more time? Oh, yeah. Later on. But it will, again, be some months before they're back up again and able to talk about things. So, games coming out. I actually dug out a little Kickstarter. That's kind of interesting.
Which one is this?
Freja and the False Prophecy. And sorry if I don't pronounce Freja the way other people wanted to, but I pronounced it the way it should.
There's another way to pronounce that name?
People like to do all sorts of things with the J. The thing is, it's supposed to be a Y.
I've never heard it pronounced any other way.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting little platforming 2D game. Classical jump around on platforms, punch thing in the face with an axe. Wait, how do you punch with an axe?
Well, I suppose you could.
Yeah, chop things. And it's set in Norse mythology, which again, that's my home. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think that could be interesting. They promise epic storylines. It says right there on the Kickstarter. And who doesn't want an epic storyline with? I'm guessing it's not the goddess Freja, but somebody just named Freja.
Yeah, I'm looking at their Kickstarter page right now. The art style is cool. And I got away from 2D platformers for a long time until recently and started playing some again. This looks like it could be fun to play as well. But I definitely like the look.
Oh, the art style is fantastic. That whole hand-drawn thing, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to kick myself because I can't think of the name of the game right now, but there was this game that really got me back into that like kind of cartoony stuff, like the old Dragon's Lair games where it's all like animated and whatnot. I do enjoy that style, especially for certain kinds of games.
Yeah, and I guess this is not unique to this one, but that whole either the background is black and the foreground is really colorful, or they put a foreground that's super black and then make the background really nice, so you really have to focus on a limited area. I like that. It's being overdone a bit, and they're doing it again this time. It seems like it can work.
I just remembered the name of the other game I was trying to think of, Little Acre.
Oh yeah, you were quite into that one, weren't you?
Yeah, that was a really neat, like, it was fun. The story was really cool, and you know what? I played it for a while, but I never got a chance to finish it. But I really enjoyed the art style and how it was all put together. It's that old, kind of cartoon style, like animated as you play through. I think everything that they did, from when you're clicking on the screen for the character to move around, it was all like an old cartoon animated that way.
I think looking at the visuals for this one, what it reminds me a little bit of is Shattered, The Lone Wanderer. The character modeling seems very much to be the same, but Shattered is a 2.5 platformer, where this is a pure 2D platformer.
And I mean, we say 2D, but if you look at some of the art for this, it's still like, especially what artists can do with layers and lighting and stuff like that. There's a lot more feel to the depth than just 2D, even though it is a 2D platformer.
Oh yeah, they're going full in on the parallax effects. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that's been amazing from some of the folks we talked to a while back. Kova, with when you look at some of the art that they're doing for some of the 2D creatures and like robots and stuff like that you'll run into. It's insane how much of a feel of depth their artist is able to give to that in the 2D environment. It's really cool.
So, small things. Allow me to nerd out for a little bit. So Freya means just lady, right? It's all it means. And just as the goddess Freya, she has a twin brother Frey, which means Lord. And I like here they say, oh, you're going to visit all, Midgard, Niflheim, Asgard, Jotunheim, Vanaheim, Alfheim. They include Alfheim, which kind of goes, so they don't mention anything specific, but that's literally where Frey, the god, rules. So that's given to him early on. As a child, it's given to him. Really weird. And it's kind of curious, are they going to do the whole Freya, the character here, is the goddess or related to the goddess? I mean, I'm curious, since they then sent her off to Alfheim. There's a bunch of things. When you read what they talk about on the Kickstarter, there's a bunch of open questions if you really like to get into this stuff.
I've always found Norse mythology to be pretty interesting, so we'll make sure there's a link in the description for where the Kickstarter's at, but definitely, if this at all sounds even interesting, even a little bit, go check it out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm back into platformers, have been for a couple of years now. It's just fun. It's easy, pick up, play. I like the way they're adding RPG mechanics. This one does too. It's far from unique to this, but the RPG mechanics being added to them allows you to play however you want. Allows you to drive the game, the gameplay to whichever direction you want. I enjoy that. Yeah, link in description. Go check it out.
Well, I guess on that note, I'm looking at the show notes here. The next thing you had was the Game Awards. Did you watch those last year?
I didn't. I missed it last year because I didn't care. Because I think it was the year before. They've only had a couple of them by now. They went, oh, you can watch us here and there and everywhere. So I went to YouTube and said, yeah, I'll watch it. And up comes a thing on YouTube says, oh, we detected copyrighted music in this video, and therefore we disabled the audio on the Game Awards because the guy who creates it, I can never remember his name. There's a person who's famous in the industry, and therefore I should know him. I suck at names. He and his team forgot to go out and get the audio that, literally the music, the bands that were playing at the Game Awards, getting their audio cleared so it wouldn't be hit by a copyright detection thingy on YouTube. So that's just amateur hour.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems... I haven't watched any yet, and it doesn't... Some of the stuff, like sometimes it seems like there are things missing that should be there that as a gamer I would think would obviously be in those categories, and yet it's not there. So I don't know. Part of me just wonders who put some of this stuff together, but I think the only reason I even knew that the Game Awards happened last year was because of the guy that was like, F the Emmys or whatever it was, that he was basically like just giving the finger to other award shows or something.
Yeah, some of these look really suspect. Some of the award shows are clearly, getting it right. Is that correct? Some of them really look like, somebody paid for that award.
Well, and games are getting awards at every show they go to. So, you go to PAX and PAX has their award system, and you go to E3 and that has that award system, and Gamescom, and so I don't know.
I love the fact that there's so many games when you slap GOTY on their title. So there are multiple games that are releasing a GOTY edition because they won Game of the Year somewhere. Not to mention earlier this year, there's a whole controversy that Fortnite won Game of the Year this year, even though it's not out, it is out, it's last year. God of War couldn't win because of technicalities and people whined.
Wait, God of War couldn't win Game of the Year because of technicalities? What technicalities?
Well, it's something in the gold joystick. I can't remember what. There was something where they said, oh, it couldn't, and so they ended up giving it to Fortnite. It was weird. So, but no, the Game Awards really, it's the industry kind of celebrating themselves with a veneer of it being, media because of who's running it. But it's ads end to end with some awards in the middle. This is going to be, to some degree, the Super Bowl, mid thing, section-y ad things you guys have.
Maybe I'll see if I can throw it up on one of the other monitors while I play some Destiny.
So one of the things I think is going to be shown at the Game Awards, because as I said, they're just showing new things. It's just going to be trailers end to end plus awards. And that new thing is going to be Dragon Age. Whatever it is that the people of that, whatever's left of that company, are working on, because they say it's Dragon Age stuff. We're working on some secret Dragon Age stuff. That I expect to be shown at the Game Awards, because they made this really weird comment. Look for more on this in the coming month, though I won't tell you where to look. So the big thing next month, or this month, is literally December 6th, the Game Awards.
So, a new Dragon Age game?
Well, there are some that are suggesting that it will be Dragon Age Immortal, i.e. a Dragon Age game on mobile.
Oh, God. Did they not learn?
Well, there is actually already a Dragon Age mobile game. It's okay, but it's one of those, here's a hero, here's some cards, now rank up your heroes, here's a gold level hero, here's a silver, here's bronze, etc. You know, but a model that's tons of games where they just change the graphics and here's the same game again. So that already exists, but yeah, I sort of expect almost Skyrim-ish mobile. What's it called? Skyrim Blades? Something?
Elder Scrolls Blades.
Elder Scrolls Blade, that was the thing, yeah. That one has been delayed, by the way.
Yeah, but you know what? At least when they announced that, they weren't naive enough to announce that by itself. They did it along with a bunch of other stuff. When you have... I know this has been covered by people and online and stuff with regards to the Diablo Immortal controversy. But when you have a huge fan base that is primarily either and PC, console, whatever, and then you release a mobile title, it's not that you can't do that. It's not that you can't do that and bring in new people and maybe have some of those folks who already play your games enjoy that type of content as well. But when you are teasing an announcement for a highly popular title that you have and then come out with something like that is what's going to be your release, it's not going to go over well. So I really hope that BioWare isn't teasing more Dragon Age and then they come out and like, oh, Dragon Age on mobile. It's fine if they do that, if they have something else that they can show that they're working on for their core fan base that really wants another Dragon Age game on, PC or console.
So I can say that they don't. They have one thing that's Dragon Age that they're announcing. From everything that we heard, they keep talking about this one thing. So yeah, it might very well be a mobile game and they might get a lot of flack for it. I think less because the people who grew up with Dragon Age or grew into Dragon Age, I think they'd be more okay with, be more accepting of it. And let's face it, there's other games coming out. They might even do Mass Effect again at some point. Doubtful, but they might. There's Anthem coming out. There's stuff. So they can survive it. Let's put it that way. But hey, it might be a TV show. Perhaps it's a new Netflix TV series, right?
I think a TV series could be really awesome, especially if done well, and Netflix seems, at least in my opinion, to do these things pretty well. But I thought I saw that they were working on a what was it? C.S. Lewis. They're going to be doing a TV series for that stuff. Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia. So I don't know. I don't know that we'll necessarily see a Dragon Age TV series anytime soon, but I don't know. You might be right. I really didn't play much of the last Dragon Age game. In fact, I barely even touched it, and that was the reason for that was because they advertised co-op, and I guess that was just maybe expectation management on my part. But when they were talking about playing the game cooperatively with your friends, the guys in the group that I play games with kind of got excited because we thought we were going to play through the story. And then they released the game, and there was no story co-op. In order to play the story, you had to play single player, and co-op was just these, quick missions that didn't take very long, kind of like a little, almost like a horde mode kind of thing. And I didn't particularly care for the level up system with that. So, we played a little bit cooperatively, but it kind of just fell by the wayside because there were more interesting things to do. And It was unfortunate because there was an Assassin's Creed game that did the same thing. They advertised co-op, but you couldn't play the story co-op. You could only play these like side missions. That's all it was available as co-op. So, on the off chance that any developer out there happens to hear this stuff, please, if you're going to advertise co-op, at least be clear how the co-op mode works. But more importantly, while single player story games are phenomenal and can be a lot of fun, if you're going to put co-op in the game, consider putting that story as a cooperative option so that friends can play through the story, because there are a lot of us out there who do enjoy playing these games either on our own or with our friends, and we want to play through that story together.
Hey, I still have my Neverwinter Nights. You just say when we'll play it cooperatively.
Oh man, I spent so many hours playing that. I can't even count how many hours I've spent playing that game, especially because my buddy worked on he made a couple of mods for it, the Eye of the Beholder and Eye of the Beholder 2. And I wrote some dialogue and some character background stuff for those. And we spent hours upon hours upon hours testing those mods to make sure that all of the things like the traps and whatnot worked the way that they were supposed to. So yeah, that was a fun time. But yeah, I that's the closest I've ever come to doing anything with like game development. And I can certainly see how, if you're working on a specific game and you going in and doing the testing and playing the same thing over and over again, it does suck a little bit of the fun out of it, because after a while it becomes more work than fun.
It also shows you one of the issues with testing, which is blindness. You become blind to what it is you test, and therefore you end up testing very narrowly, and other bugs that are actually showing up while you're testing, but in a parallel component, you actually miss them. You focus too much on just the thing you're testing. That is a very real and very problematic thing in testing. Complex systems and games are complex systems.
Yeah, it's real easy to get laser focused on going through something a specific way because you know how it's supposed to work. And yeah, it's funny when somebody does something that you didn't expect, or they play the game in a way that's so much vastly different to the way that you approach it. But yeah, no, it was an interesting experience.
This is also why Bethesda just did not notice the fact that Fallout 76 frequently and repeatedly crashes, has to be restarted, or frame rate drops to about 10 seconds per frame. They just weren't paying attention to that part. They were focusing on something else.
Yeah, Todd Howard's taken a lot of flack about the presentation from E3, and there's a big part of me that thinks that the reason he talked about the game the way he did is because he was probably shown the game in a closed environment where the things probably did work a lot closer to how he talked about how the game was going to run. Of course, if you're on a local network there and you only have a few players, the game I'm sure probably runs a lot better than when you release it out to the masses who are connecting from all over the world. And of course, you can also control the hardware in an environment like that where you can make sure it's all working on a specific set of hardware versus the multitudes of hardware that's out there for, the PC gaming crowd. So, yeah, I don't know, man.
There is one PS4 and one PS4 Pro. Okay, there's two of each now. They don't vary that much. They were freaking lazy. That's another topic. We've talked about that at nauseum. So I just wanted to get another stab in. Anyways, Dragon Age is coming out. There's more Dragon Age. Yay! And if you play through Dragon Age 4, make sure you get all the DLC, because the important parts that actually wraps up the freaking story are in the DLC. Yay. But it's a good game. Anyway, that's enough soul from me. People, apologies. It's been one of those days, hasn't it? There are links to everything. Should be links to everything, including the Game Awards, the Kickstarter, BioWare, Dust 514. All the stuff down in the descriptions, up in the descriptions if you watch on the website. I guess up as well on Facebook or to the right. Somewhere there are links. It's been a pleasure. My name is G as always, and talk to you eventually.
And if you like any of this part that you've heard, please do give us a like, share, all those good things. Share this out with a buddy who enjoys hearing about different video game news or interviews with developers. If there is a developer, especially an indie developer that maybe we haven't talked about that you'd like us to reach out to, maybe we haven't heard of them yet, poke us on Twitter, let us know. We're always happy to talk to folks about the video games that they're making. It makes for a really interesting conversation, at least in our minds. So, for myself, Drek, I'm out. Till next time.